Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lockdown Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. The Brewers now head to a very important road trip. Yeah, middle of May, but still three in St. Louis. The Cardinals are starting to heat up a little bit, and then three in Tampa after the Brewers took care of business against the Royals this weekend. A three-game sweep. Christian Yelich finally starting to put together some power numbers this weekend. Is that something we're going to have to look forward to with Yelly? A return to power greatness. All that and more coming up next here on Lockdown Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This was a great weekend for the Milwaukee Brewers. Worst team in baseball came to town. Well, one of the worst teams. Them and the Oakland A's, two of the worst teams in baseball, came to town. The Brewers took care of all three of these games against the Royals. Got down early, just like on Saturday, but the Brewers rallied for a 9-6 win. They were down 4-1 in this game, and then a 7-run third inning flipped the game completely. And the Brewers now head to St. Louis and start an important series against the Cardinals. And you might think, well, how important is the series against the Cardinals? 162 games, but the Cardinals, you got to kick them down when they're down. And they're starting to get a little momentum going here in this series against Boston. And they got a game with the Red Sox coming up on Sunday night as we're taping this. So, hopefully the Red Sox can win one of those three games. But St. Louis is playing some good baseball. Friday and Saturday, they got things going with ninth inning rallies against Kenley Jansen, the Red Sox closer, after he got his 400th save on Thursday. He had two bad nights. So we'll get more into the Cardinals. But first, the Brewers, got down in this game 4-1, rallied, and got the win. And Christian Yelich had a big weekend. My name is Chuck Freeman. Welcome to Lockdown Brewers. I cover the Brewers for 1310 WIBA in Madison, their morning sports anchor, and also for AP Radio. I've been covering for AP for over 40 years, and I'm from the Milwaukee area. I live and breathe Milwaukee Brewers, just like you. I'm a fan, but I also cover the team, but I'm also a fan as well. Hey, you know what? In the media, you just can't take it. If you grew up here, you just can't take that out of your blood. You can't just separate it, man. I'm a fan as well. And, it looked like Saturday and Sunday, the Brewers might be headed for losses in this game, getting down early, but rallying to win both times, down 4-1. But you look at this, Christian Yelich hit a home run, his third home run in as many days, in 2 days, a towering blast early in this game in the first inning to put the Brewers on the board. And it just was it gives you a good feeling that once again, he's lifting the ball. Yesterday in the media, we kind of talked to him after the game, and he didn't give away too much, but you could tell he's starting to elevate a little bit more, driving the ball a little bit more. And he says, hey, you know what? You can't hit home runs. You can't gap the ball by hitting grounders, and that's true. But he also had an RBI base hit, scored from first on a comedy of errors by the Royals as far as throwing the ball around the horn as he was stealing second base. Part of that 7-run third inning. He was an igniter, not to call him Paul Molitor, but he was an igniter in that seventh inning in that third inning and helped the Brewers get back and eventually take the lead. And Brice Turang hit a 3-run home run, helped them open up the distance, and the Brewers went on to the 9-6 win. Mike Brasso later on hit a home run late in the game, which made it 9-4. The Royals did put up a couple of solo home runs off Eric Lauer in the ninth inning. But, you look at this game, Owen Miller continues to be one of the most consistent hitters on this team. He's reached base now in 16 straight games, had another big hit in this game. I just think he's just consistent. I mean, you look at the Brewers lineup, and certainly there are more talented players than Owen Miller. But Miller's going out there and giving them good at-bats, strong at-bats, hit a home run on Friday night. And, with Owen Miller, you can't take him out of the lineup. There's certain places you can't play him defensively, but for the most part, been very, very steady out there. And that is great to see. Because when I looked at the Brewers getting Owen Miller, I looked at him as mostly a kind of a role player on this team. And, he's having to play a little bit more. Council talked about after the game on Sunday about this is the time of the year where we're going to have to start resting some guys. Now, I hope it's not in this series against St. Louis. Don't be picking the St. Louis series or the Tampa series as time to rest guys, because these are both teams who probably are more talented. Now, I know the Brewers have got a better record than the Cardinals, but the Cardinals have got some talent. They're just struggling in a couple of areas, namely the pitching end. We're going to get to that here a little bit. But Eric Lauer, who's been taken out of the rotation, he, for one start, went like 5 1/3 innings on Sunday in relief of Colin Ray. They missed Lauer's start. They move Ray up to Sunday. Peralta's going to pitch Monday against the Cardinals. So Ray started, got into some trouble early on, left the game. Lauer took over. And what they wanted Lauer to do is to pitch in some low leverage situations, feeling that maybe they've been putting too much pressure on him. And he's been putting too much pressure on himself, going out there and struggling. He's talked about it. So they put him in a different role today, long relief. But he went out there, and I thought he was going to maybe pitch 1 or 2 innings, but he stayed on, and he pitched the rest of the game. Came on in the 4th inning and just pitched, and never looked back, and ended up getting the win to even his record at 4-4. So in effect, it was a starter's role for him, going starter's innings, but only in a relief role, and a very good relief role, and had been pitching great until he gave those 2 home runs. And the home run ball have really been a problem for Lauer here in the first part of the season. Coming into the game, 8 home runs in 32 innings, and then was cruising along, and then gave 2 meaningless home runs, but still home runs in the 9th inning to the Royals. So the Brewers win, sweep the series, 33,188 on Mother's Day. Watch this. It was great to see. And yeah, Mother's Day, they've always come out here. They give the wristlets out, which are really nice, and the fans love them. But, you think about Mother's Day. I was going to talk about this yesterday. The Mother's Day of 2006, when Bill Hall hit the home run in the bottom of the 9th, I want to say, and they won the game, 2-out home run, 2006. He hit 35 home runs that year, Bill Hall, but he hit it with the pink bat, and he had struck out 3 times earlier in the game, and then came up at his final at bat with 2 outs and hit an opposite field home run, and they won the game. They beat the New York Mets that day, and he went on to have a big year, but that year was never equaled. He looked like the Bill Hall, a guy who the Brewers were going to build their franchise around, and he just never was able to equal that, and later found himself as a platoon player, and just kind of teased us a few times that he was going to turn things around, and just never equaled what he did in 2006. But that's my memory of 2006 Mother's Day. I was out here with my kid. We're sitting in the first base side. I was teaching him my oldest kid, I was teaching him how to keep score of that game, and we still got that scorecard somewhere. And the Brewers went on to beat the Mets, but the Brewers also went on to 87 losses that year. So that was 2006. This one, not as memorable as that, but still, a win is a win. And from what I remember, the Brewers have the best record in Major League Baseball on Mother's Day. I think they have the best record of all 32 teams on Mother's Day. They just have an incredible record on this day every year. And they lived up to it on Sunday with the win, down 4-1 and coming back and winning 9-6. All right, we're going to get to your tweets coming up here in a little bit. See what you had to say. Put something out there about Christian Yelich. 3 homers in 2 games. Talk up here a little bit. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen to every day. And, of course, the Brewers and Cardinals will start a 3-game set at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Catch every pitch of Brewers' hometown broadcast, SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Brewers. SiriusXM app, search Brewers. Brewers and Cardinals Monday night, 6:45 with that first pitch from Busch Stadium. And the show is brought to you in part by eBay Motors. eBay Motors. eBay, for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits just right and the first time around, just like the ride to my garage. And look for the green check. Know the part will fit if you get that green check or your money back. Plus, just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop eBay Motors with over 122 parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. And after all, it's easy to bring home a win when all the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, get the right fit, and get the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay's Guaranteed Fit, only available to customers, U.S. customers, that is. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thank you, all you everydayers out there. Follow us on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Subscribe on YouTube. Go to the subscribe button. Hit the little bell there. That's going to alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers, which we do usually a couple of hours before or after the game. And we talk about the game, set up the next game as well. And, of course, if you're finding us on YouTube and you want to know how do you get the audio version of this show, well, Spotify, you can go to Apple, you can go to Google, many other sites. On my Twitter account, after I download this, I put a little link to all of them that you can link to any place and get Locked On Brewers. And many of you have done that, and I appreciate it. Locked On Brewers, your team every day. Okay, let's move on to some of your tweets here today before we get into the series. And we're going to get into the box score as well. But let's see what some of you had to say today. And the Brewers, 9-3 wins. Well, I put a tweet out there about Joel Embiid, but that doesn't relate to this podcast. Love the show every day. No need to beat a dead horse, Freems. There's also been a lot of good history. Okay, I know what I said. I said after some early drama, the Brewers righted some things with a 7-run third. They appear to be on their way to sweeping the Royals, but as we know, nothing is certain. And Buck says, love the show except for that part every day. No need to beat a dead horse. In other words, he doesn't want, I get it. You don't want to hear me talking bad about the Brewers and how frustrated we are as fans sometimes, but I get that. What else do we got here? I got a lot of Embiid tweets here. Asking me if Doc Rivers is going to be the next head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. We should be excited about Yelich, says Beer Cheese Bunny. As easily as he got those homers, he can just as easily go back to striking out or hitting ground balls to first base. I get that. Have the Brewers turned it around? Only if the Brewers play the Royals 162 games a year, writes Frank. Joey Wiemer. I mentioned something about Joey Wiemer hitting the cutoff man. You know, Joey is batting in the ninth spot, and he's played but all of a handful of games this year for the team. But how many times with guys at first and second is he going to catch a ball in deep center field and try to throw that runner out at third? It's not going to happen at the major league level. He's got a great arm. What ultimately happens is that runner is easily safe at third, and that runner moves from first to second. That happened in the third inning. Now, it didn't cost him there because they were able to get out of the inning, but my gosh, he's done that a few more times. Please, Joey, tell Joey Wiemer, don't be throwing to third base, trying to get out somebody out, unless it's a sure thing. And that's just a sure thing because he's just killing him by doing it. Christian Yelich, is he back? Is he back the way we think he's back? Again, it looks like he's elevating the ball a little bit more, hitting for a little bit more power. The 2 home runs, all 3 games of this series, he hit balls to different parts of the ballpark. And the one he hit today was a moonshot to right field, a no-doubter. And that was great to see because he had not hit a lot of those. And he's got 7 homers on the season right now. But, you know, you really want to see him kind of keep on bringing that power because we want Yelich Hey, it's great if he walks at the part of the top of the order and gets on, but he needs to deliver power numbers, gappers, long balls. That's what this team definitely leads in this lineup. So I said in my tweet, Yelich 3 in 2 days, 3 homers in 2 days. Too soon to get excited? Sean writes, he has about the same amount of homers as he did in 2018, his MVP year. And he did through May of 2018, and he's got 2 more weeks left. So in other words, what Sean is saying is he's on a pace to what he is right now as his MVP year of 2018, home run wise. Buck says he seems to figure it out a few things. He's driving the ball again back to the air on a more frequent basis. Yes, launching the ball, the launch angle. Again, I'm not for guys just turning it up and launching, but he definitely has the power with that launch angle and doing a few things with his stance that he should be launched. He should be hitting more home runs, and they've adjusted something there with his swing that's allowing him to elevate the ball a little bit more. And of course, I get tweets like this. Scotty Moe says he must be back to stealing signs again. Wayne says he must have his sign relaying game back on point. I don't know about that, but guys, all I know is he's back to hitting. But I'll say this: don't buy too much into the way Christian Yelich has been in the series, because we've been down that road several times so far here in the last couple of seasons, only to be disappointed. But what we do need from him is to continue to hit and hit with power and drive and runs and continue to steal bases and run and do what he did today, where he scored from first on a little league play where he stole first, second, ball went into short center field, went to third, bad throw to third base, and slid on home. And it was something you would see in softball out in Waukesha, or you'd see, in my kids' 11-year-old little league games. All right, so let's get to the series against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Brewers have a first of 3 with the Cardinals coming up. We're going to talk about that right next after this here on Locked On Brewers. All right, welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Yeah, the Brewers start a series with the the Cardinals. The Brewers with the Cardinals. Do you know the Cardinals have not had a losing season since 2007? That's amazing. Now, they had won the first 2 games of the series in Boston, pending Sunday night's game. Cardinals and Red Sox. Go figure. The Cardinals and Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. No way. Really? No. Tell me it's not so. Wilson Contreras is back catching again. Now, they took him out of the catcher spot for the Cardinals because Marmol, their manager, said they needed him to get more familiar with the Cardinal way of doing things. The pitchers, the systems. Of course, they signed him to that 5-year, $82 million contract in the offseason. But they were, with Wilson Contreras, they were having him just DH recently. But Monday night against the Brewers, he's going to be back catching again after taking a week off or so of the catcher spot. They wanted him to work things out, and in a bizarre world, somehow he's back catching on Monday. I don't know if that was something Marmol got from the front office or whatever. They said, we're paying Wilson Contreras to catch. Don't be DHing him. Get him up to speed. Get him familiar with our way of doing things. This should have happened in spring training, getting back the catcher. So he's going to catch Jack Flaherty coming up on Monday night. But Wilson Contreras, who, again, for whatever reason, they took him out and put him in the DH role with the Cardinals for the last weekend. He's going to be back in catching on Saturday. Jack Flaherty, the starter for the Cardinals, has been struggling as of late. Just struggling. And I've been reading in like the St. Louis papers that he might be in danger of, well, some of the bloggers might have said this too, that he might be in danger of losing a start in the rotation, a spot in the starting rotation. I'd be very surprised at that. He's one of their better pitchers. And I know he's off to a 2-4 start, 6.18 ERA. At one time was a Cy Young candidate. Last time out, 5 innings pitched, 3 runs. He walked 5. He pitched very good on a Saturday night here in April, earlier this year against the Brewers. But Flaherty's velo has dropped. His velocity has dropped a couple of points. And he was asked that the other day by the St. Louis media. And of course, Flaherty snapped and said, "Don't ever ask me that question ever again. Quit talking about my velo. I don't want to talk about it. And I'm not going to answer that question ever again." But then he went on to answer the question and said, why his velo had dropped. He said he's working on a few things. I don't know. Who knows what it is? But still, Jack Flaherty is no slouch on that mound. And even though his ERA is hovering around 6 in a 2-4 start and didn't pitch all that great in his last outing, tough customer. And St. Louis, we knew the Cardinals were going to start winning some games. A week ago Saturday, they were 10-24. Again, this is their worst start. Their worst start in 98 years. 98 years of Cardinal baseball. This is their worst start. But they're starting to come on a little bit, okay? Took the final game of their series last Sunday. Believing it was against the Angels. Took 2 or 3 against the Cubs and took the first two games of their series against the Red Sox. They're going to be okay. I never understood why they traded Hader last year, or not Bader, Harrison Bader. I never understood why we traded Hader, and I didn't understand why the Cardinals traded Bader. They traded Bader, really a defensive stud, key cog on that team, and they traded him to the Yankees, which was very weird. I still don't know why they made that move. But as a Brewer fan, of course, I'm glad he's not in there anymore. But I just was a bizarre trade for the Cardinals. Just like it was a bizarre trade for the Brewers to trade Hader, bizarre for the Cardinals to trade Bader. But St. Louis has still got a decent hitting lineup, okay? Their pitching has been the struggles for them. But they have right now, according to Fangraphs, they had a 67% chance of making the playoffs when the season started. It's down to 22%. I'll take those odds. But the Cardinals are far, far, far from being out of this division race. We all know that. Hey, there's not anybody in this press box right here who would ever say, who've covered the Brewers and Cardinals all these years, would ever say, yeah, the Cardinals are out of the race at the end of April, even though they finished at 10-24. Not whatsoever. Cardinals are going to be in this thing, and that's why every day I always look at the standings and I say, okay, how many games are the Brewers are ahead of the Cardinals? Not the lousy Pittsburgh Pirates who won, but the Cardinals. The Brewers are 8 games ahead of the Cardinals going into St. Louis's game on Sunday. And, yeah, the Pirates got back on the winning track today. They were a game and a half out, but the Cardinals, guys, are the only team, and it would be great to go in there and take 2 of 3. All right, let's get to the box score before we check out of here. Let's see how things shaped up for the Brewers today, because they put a lot of runs on the board. 9 runs. They scored 9 runs in the first game of this homestand on Monday, and they scored 9 games on the last game of this homestand. Christian Yelich went 2 for 4. In addition to that home run, had an RBI single, and then came around to score on that weird play where he just circled the bases on a stolen base. Jesse Winker went 0 for 2. Jesse's in a horrible slump. Mike Brasso has been seeing less playing time, although he homered in a pinch hitting role later in the game. Willie Adames went 0 for 4. Willie just had a bad weekend. 0 for 4. Hit a couple of balls hard, a couple of cannon corns out there to the outfield. Rowdy went 1 for 4. Owen Miller went 1 for 4. Victor Caratini went 0 for 4. Brice Turang, 3-run blast, his 3rd of the year. Highlight, put the capper on that 7-run 3rd inning for the Brewers. Tyrone Taylor went 0 for 2. Joey Weimer went 0 for 2. Had that bad throw from center field. Colin Ray made the start. I'd said on the podcast that Freddie Peralta, the Brewers had made a switch there when they decided to give Eric Lauer an extra day rest. Colin Ray got the start. 3 2/3, 6 innings, 4 earned runs. That's not a good start. Colin, his ERA is pushed up well over 5. It's at 5.52. Again, I know the expectations are low by Colin Ray, but had to get him out of there. Now, Eric Lauer came in and saved the day. Lauer pitched great, low leverage, low pressure, didn't feel like he had the pressure of starting, and maybe that's something that Lauer should be doing. Long relief, 5 1/3, 2 hits, 2 earned runs. Those 2 earned runs came on 2 home runs in the 9th inning, but he struck out 6, 5 1/3, 6 strikeouts for Eric Lauer. We'll take that all day and twice on Sunday. Happy Mother's Day, everybody out there. Thanks for tuning us in, everybody, on Locked On Brewers, on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, and we will be covering the Brewers and Cardinals right here on Locked On Brewers for the next 3 days after every game, about 2 hours after the final pitch. We will be right here with Locked On Brewers. Also want to let you know that you can listen to the game, the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Put Brewers in, and you will catch every game of Brewers and Cardinals. 6:45 of that first pitch coming up on Monday. 6:45. In fact, all 3 of these days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, all 3 night games. Rarely, because you normally on a Wednesday and getaway day, you have an afternoon game, but they will play a night game. Brewers have the day off Thursday, and then they start a series in Tampa beginning on Friday. We all know how the Tampa Bay Rays are, but we're going to get to them later in the week, not look ahead. Let's focus on the Cardinals and Freddie Peralta making the start. Freddie, 3 quality starts in a row. Start against Flaherty coming up on Monday night. Enjoy your Monday, everybody. We'll talk to you after the game. I'm Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.